Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Keely Denenberg. I'm Senior VP of Client Solutions here at Orange Grove Consulting. And today I'm joined by Dr. Jodi Detjen, Managing Partner. And we are continuing the conversation about organizations that are either stalling or not starting succession planning efforts because they feel like the next generation isn't ready. And in our last video, we talked a little bit about why that is happening. So, Jodi, now I'd like to dive deeper into what people should be doing to work through this.
Well, the thing about all these problems is that they're solved in a very similar way. You figure out what it is the goal is that you're trying to achieve, and then you break it down. So in this case, what you're trying to achieve is you want to develop leaders that are going to help in your succession planning so that you have a leadership pipeline across your entire organizational hierarchy. So what you do is you take that leadership journey, and then you break it down into what are the different competencies that everybody needs in that leadership journey. And based on those competencies, how do people develop those competencies? How do we evaluate those competencies so that we know where the gap is? And so then you have a very clear understanding of where the different steps are along the way. This developmental economy or ecological or environment, you can call all sorts of different things. It's more than just training. So yes, training is a component of it because, for example, if you want somebody to be able to be more direct and clear in their feedback, that's a skill set that people have to practice. But there's also a whole component on developmental assignments that I think is really clear. So for example, if you want somebody who's going to be able to speak in a certain way with the clients and ask questions so that they seek to understand the client's problem and be able to brainstorm in the moment possible solutions. That is a skill that takes time to develop. You can't just buy that off the shelf. You can't just take a training class and go do it. You have to understand what the component parts are in that. Like, how do you create these questions? How do you ask these questions so that you can understand what the clients need? Understand their perspective? How do you ask questions so that you can deepen your own understanding? That's a whole ecosystem of skill sets. So you might have some individual training. Then you're going to give them a stretch assignment so that they can actually have this conversation. Maybe you do some coaching and some preparatory work. These are all very clear steps onto how you can get somebody who doesn't have these skills to get those skills. And it's not something like it's one and done. This is probably going to take them multiple years to get quite good at it. So for example, in that particular case, I remember when I first started doing it, I'm 22 years old and I got thrown into the fire. That's not how you should do it. And I had to figure it out on my own. That is not the way to build it. Now, I did build it, but the anxiety and the lack of skill set and the negative impact on our clients was actually kind of large. But the company didn't care about that. They had other goals. But if you want to be more strategic about it, then you break those things down. So let's just take that example a little further. In the Gen Z, these people know how to present. They have presented 1,000 times over their K through 16 experience. Presentation skills are not a problem. However, creating a presentation that is persuasive, that actually hits these clients' pain points, that actually frames a solution in a way that showcases what you're offering, but at the same time marries it with what the client wants, those are very much higher level skills. And those skills require practice. They require somebody more experienced to be able to, you put them in that situation, then afterwards they get very specific and clear feedback. So you build this ecosystem, this environment, and then but around the core competencies that you've identified. And then you can throw people in them and then you can see how well they do. Maybe some people learn faster than others. Maybe some people are skilled at certain areas and less skilled at others. So you decide as you're looking at this leadership journey, how fast that trajectory is for any given person, but you're giving them very clear, very concrete steps forward. And then you share that with everybody so everybody knows the path that they're going on.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. And those core competencies, I would like to ask you about those, but we're going to save those for our next video. So thanks everyone for being here. Check back to our YouTube channel to see more thought leadership from us, including how to figure out your core competencies.